Welcome in, sports fans. West Pruitt, 4 Star Sports Media. Welcome into the Sports Buffet, the one place that you always come and get full of sports. Got John Starman over here as well. We are 4 Star Sports Media. Yes, it's a 4 star name, but we provide 5 star coverage. Thank you to everyone watching and listening right now. We are live on YouTube at the moment, but we've got three things to shout out real quick. We'll also shout them out through the show. We'll start with SeatGeek. Head over to SeatGeek now. SeatGeek is the leading ticket provider in the nation, and they make it really easy for you. They've got a tier. They got green, yellow, and red. It tells you what the value of the ticket is, how good or bad the ticket is. With that, find any ticket $50 or more. When you do, type in promo code 4 Star Sports Media, and it will save you $20 off your first ticket purchase. It works every time, folks. I promise you. For the parents out there that have little kids that are involved in youth activities, youth sports, head over to sportboxco.com now. Type in backslash 4 Star Sports Media type after you type in for Sportsbox Co. And when you do, you'll find the gridiron box, the hardwood box. There's a hockey, there's lacrosse, there's volleyball. All sports are there. Football, baseball, basketball as well. But it's a box that gives you gear, it gives you training tools, it gives you, the parents, a little bit of help because it gives you, puts water bottles in there and, little lunch boxes and things like that to help out parents throughout the sports seasons. But head over there now and they can get you taken care of as always. And then finally, are you looking for a cool, refreshing beverage that hits the spot every single time? If you are, look no further than Athletic Brewing Company. They are the nation's leading number one non-alcoholic brand in the country. I'll say that again. Athletic Brewing Company is the nation's number one non-alcoholic brand in the nation. And we have partnered with them. They have partnered with us, however you want to look at it. But head over to athleticbrewingcompany.com backslash 4 Star Sports for a special link for shopping through Athletic Brewing Company. They've got numerous really good drinks. Right now, they've got a Fancy Life that's partnering with Walter Hayes. You've got the Iron Man, which obviously partners with the Iron Man triathletes. I'm sipping on a Run Wild IPA at the moment. Very good stuff. Very good stuff. The Run Wild IPA, as well as others, but the Run Wild specifically has really it's kind of a Blue Moon taste a little bit with the orange. But no, it's good stuff, man. But head over there now. You'll hear more about all three of these brands coming up. But let's get to the topic at hand, and that is the Women's College World Series. It's been a incredibly just fun, 2 days? It started Thursday, so this is day 3. But we'll start at the top, John. Let's start at Texas A&M. They knocked off St. Francis 18-0, followed by Liberty beating Marist 10-5, and then we saw Marist knock out St. Francis. But then today, John, we saw Liberty pull the shocker, man, 8-5 over number 1 Texas A&M, to send Texas A&M to the losers bracket to knock off Marist 17-4. As Liberty and Texas A&M will meet again, possibly twice, because Liberty has not lost. So they would have to lose both games tomorrow. But fun regional at the very top.
Yeah, we called Liberty basically the dangerous overall 2 seed that could surprise somebody in the first round last week or this week. I mean, so yeah, to see Liberty beat A&M is not really a total shock to me because the way that Liberty hits the ball and pitches at times as well, and then the toughest non-conference schedule that they put together this year as well. So yeah, it'll be an interesting challenge. Like I know it's an elimination game, and then we got to beat Liberty twice. So it'll be interesting tomorrow in College Station.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. All right, man. Let's head over to the Norman region as Oklahoma knocked off Boston University 8-0, followed by Cal winning a close one against Omaha 1-0, which would pit Omaha and Boston University in the first elimination game, with Omaha knocking out Boston U by a score of 3-1. Then today, Oklahoma would knock off Cal 11-2, sending Cal to the elimination game, which is currently going on right now. Top of five score is 2-0 Cal, with currently two outs, no balls, no strikes is the current count. They're in the top of the fifth. Like I said, Cal is currently leading 2-0. Winner will take on Oklahoma tomorrow. John, what are your thoughts on this Norman region?
I mean, Cal was one of the at larges in the ACC this year, but that game is actually delayed right now too as we speak. So makes you wonder if they're going to try to finish this game out tonight or finish it out tomorrow because the weather in that area right now, summer thunderstorms for a reason, are here in Norman. So not a real shock. Obviously, it's good to see Omaha. I know they're competing in their games, so it's good to see like a at large in Omaha get be competitive in their games.
Does it surprise you to see Omaha competing the way they are with the likes of an Oklahoma, a Cal, teams like that?
Not really, just because anybody can beat anybody on a given day, as we've seen so far today, which we'll discuss down the road.
Yeah.
But yeah, Omaha, I know they won their league for a reason. That's one reason they're in the tournament. So
All right, man. Let's head over to the Gainesville Regional, where we saw Florida knock off Mercer 8-0 yesterday, followed by Florida Atlantic knocking off Georgia Tech 5-4, and then we saw Mercer eliminate Georgia Tech, which was honestly kind of a surprise out of that regional. But we saw Mercer eliminate Georgia Tech 7-3 yesterday in the elimination game. Then we would see Florida knock off Florida Atlantic today in a hard fought 14-6 game. And really, you go back and look at that. Yes, there's 14 runs put on the board, but at one point in time it was 3-3 before a grand slam by Florida. And then we saw in a surprise, John, Mercer blank Florida Atlantic and knock them out with a 7-0 win as Mercer looks to pull the shocker, and it would be a shocker for us too, as we did not predict Mercer to go to the championship of this regional, but then they've got a chance, albeit a big chance, but you've got to beat Florida twice tomorrow to move on. What an exciting regional down there in Gainesville.
first of all, congratulations to Florida Atlantic softball program on a great season, 40+ wins in the regular season and the tournament total. So good to see Florida Atlantic. I know you lost to Mercer 7-0 today, but maybe Florida Atlantic just ran out of pitching because they used so many in that Florida game, maybe possibly too.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And then speaking of Florida Atlantic, before we move on to the next regional, when you look at their head coach, she's a first time head coach, man.
Hmm.
She's very, very young. She's very energetic. She reminds me of the Memphis head coach a little bit, Trina Prater, how she describes her teams, things like that. All right, man. Let's head to my backyard anyway. That's Fayetteville, Arkansas. Let's head up here to the hill, man. Fayetteville Regional. It's been exciting so far. We saw Arkansas blank St. Louis last night, or yesterday, I should say, and then we saw Oklahoma State win 11-6, and before Indiana would send St. Louis back to the Arch City. And then today, John, man, we saw some excitement today. Arkansas would win 6-5 over Oklahoma State in a game that, if you look at it from a statistical standpoint, you look at it from a numbers standpoint. I mean, it was tied 1-1 going into the fourth inning, but then after that, Oklahoma State turned up a notch. Now let's not make any bones about it, John. Oklahoma State's been to, I believe it was 18 or 19 consecutive College World Series appearances. Arkansas has not been to any. So it was a real test today for the Razorbacks. But Oklahoma State would score 2 runs in the fourth, 2 runs in the fifth, followed by Arkansas scoring 1 run in the sixth, followed by heroics here. A magical bottom of the seventh 3-run inning to take it to extra innings before Arkansas would get the win 8-7 on a monstrous shot. But I tell you, you listen to Courtney Deifel after the game, and I'm paraphrasing here, but essentially what she said is this: if we have an out left, we have a chance to win, and my team understands that. That's how they play. That's a mindset they have, and honestly, it's a dangerous mindset. We know DJ Gasso, Patty Gasso, Oklahoma head coach. Her son is now here in Fayetteville. He's the hitting coach. Matter of fact, we know a soon-to-be graduate and graduate assistant up here as well, but we'll discuss that later. But no, fun stuff, man. Arkansas, this place is hopping, man. Just a few years ago, and I know this because I'm married to my source. A few years ago,
Good source,
the
there, buddy.
softball,
Good source.
yeah, the softball program, it was not like it is now. Right now, you go to Bogle Park, man, you got to stand in line to get in a game. You better get there early if you want to get a good seat. It wasn't like that. When Courtney Deifel took the program over, it wasn't like that. It's changed. It's one of the hottest sports on campus up here, and that's no joke at all. Softball season starts, man, and people get excited. Um, and similar to baseball, the fan bases, or at least the ones you hear from on a social media perspective, seem to be very level headed, right? I mean, you beat Oklahoma State. If it's other sports, people are freaking out. Didn't bother. Didn't bother fans here. Didn't bother them one bit, man. So big time stuff. They've got a return meeting because Oklahoma State would would double up Indiana tonight, 16-8. As they would double up the Hoosiers to send the Hoosiers home. So we got a return matchup tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, right here in Fayetteville, Arkansas versus Oklahoma State. Can the Sooners keep their streak going? They have to knock off the Hogs back-to-back games. That's tough to do in any sport, but including softball, because Arkansas's got some aces on their staff. John, what's your thoughts of a regional that's been really exciting here in Fayetteville?
Yeah, the Cowgirls definitely showed out early on in that game. Then we brought up Arkansas doing a 3-run seventh. Your best player, guess how many walks? Not 1, not 2, not 3, but she had 4 walks on the day. So Bree Ellis definitely wants to get some at bats and go yard, I'm sure. So to walk 4 times for Arkansas and still get that dub, pretty good for the Lady Razorbacks.
Man, I tell you, you give that girl a chance, you better make sure you make a play. Because if not, she's gonna make you pay for it. I promise you, man. She's fun to watch. I personally have seen a few home runs of hers leave Bogle Park very quickly. She puts a blast behind the softball. All right, John, let's head down to Tallahassee, where we saw the number 5 ranked Florida State Seminoles knock off Robert Morris yesterday, 10-1, followed by South Florida with a big time win, 12-7 over Auburn, followed by Auburn sending home Robert Morris last night, 11-3 in the first of what would be 2 elimination games. Today, fast forward to today, you have game 3 as Florida State would knock off South Florida 8-0, as the Bulls would then take on the Auburn Tigers in what was a really good softball game today. Auburn came out ahead though, 7-5. As it will be the Seminoles and the Tigers tomorrow. Once again, same situation. Auburn's got coming out of the loser bracket. They're going to have to win twice over a really good Florida State team and a team that we saw last year. If you give them a chance in Oklahoma City, they're a dangerous team.
But it makes you wonder. I know pitches don't really matter in softball, but it makes you wonder on how Auburn might use their pitchers in this game, especially in the first game against Florida State tomorrow, because the South Florida game, the first game where South Florida hit a grand slam, kind of broke a little people's hearts in Auburn for the pitching staff a little bit. But yeah, overall, I think be interesting how Auburn does their pitching routine tomorrow. If they keep it close, do you see like a 1-2 punch? And then, like for example, 2 innings here, 2 innings here, etc. Pitching staff. So credit to USF football on a great season, and also
Oh, yeah.
thank you the other day from us at Four Star Sports Media.
Do what now?
But thanks for the like on Twitter the other day on uh,
Oh, yeah.
Twitter too. So
Yeah, man. South Florida gave us a little bit of love on a post last night. Yeah, it's very cool, man. I think if you're Auburn, you've got to win twice, right? You've got to knock off a really tough team and a team that's also playing at home. Let's not forget that. Um, you got to throw everything you got, man. You got to beat them twice. If you beat them once, then you got a chance. But if you don't beat them, then you don't have a chance. You know what I mean? So it's going to be a lot of fun. All these regionals have been a lot of fun. Super regional is going to be even more fun. But let's head down to Austin, man. Number 6, Texas Longhorns would knock off Eastern Illinois 10-2 yesterday. After the Michigan would start the day with a 4-3 hard fought win over the UCF Knights. Make sure I get that right. Then we would see Central Florida knock off Eastern Illinois following a 16-4 win this morning over for Texas, over Michigan. And then John, we would see Central Florida, the Knights, knock off Michigan tonight 10-8 as Central Florida, the Knights, not the Black Knights, but the regular Knights, will be taking on Texas tomorrow. Same situation coming out of the losers bracket. It's going to be interesting. Texas has had a hell of a draw.
yeah, if anybody can beat Texas,
Texas,
I think.
Texas A&M. I mean,
Yeah,
crap, dude. These guys, I feel for these teams.
I mean, imagine UCF right now. They're like, how are we going to compete with Texas tomorrow? We got to beat them twice. And then on top of that, they score 10 runs, like you brought up, against Michigan. So to me, you got to jump on Texas early and early often because Texas got the pitching staff to go very far this postseason.
I mean, they're now in the SEC. They're not. I mean, nothing against the Big 12,
Mm-hmm.
but how many SEC teams made the tournament?
Like
14.
15 of them. Yeah.
Yeah, there's only 15 teams that play
Right.
softball in the SEC. 14 of those made the tournament. Out of those 14, I put like at least half of them are hosting regionals. I mean, we've now talked about. Actually, let me go look. We've now talked about one. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, we're talking about our 5th right now as we head to Knoxville, Tennessee. Talk about the Lady Vols. They knocked off. They blanked, completely blanked. Miami of Ohio 17-0 to start the day there in Knoxville, followed by Ohio State knocking off North Carolina 9-6 on the day. Today would start with Tennessee winning over Ohio State 4-2 before Ohio State would learn their meter of the first elimination game, which was Miami of Ohio versus North Carolina, as Miami of Ohio would come away with a 4-3 win. John shaking his head, folks. And then we would see a Ohio State Miami of Ohio matchup. I love the what are the odds those two teams meet, man? I love it. But that's actually a little bit of a rivalry there between those two teams. Yes, that's Miami, not of Florida. That's why the OH is there. Miami of Ohio. But also Ohio State. You can figure it out. Look at a map, same state. Ohio State would come away with a win 11-1, setting up a Tennessee Ohio State matchup tomorrow at 11 a.m. And it's going to be an exciting one. I think Tennessee wins, though.
Yeah,
Even though
same thing.
John did pick Ohio State, folks. Let's not forget that.
Same thing. Ohio State's got to beat Tennessee twice. The reason I'm just shaking my head a little bit, I'm like, North Carolina, did y'all just take this region too lightly? Nothing against Miami, Ohio, but y'all did a little bit too much celebrating when y'all beat Ohio or played Ohio State the first time. But now just to be eliminated, makes you wonder though. These ACC teams now, are they going to schedule better in the non-conference as well going forward?
Oh, I mean, I think you're going to see every conference do that, including specifically the non P2, right? And by the way, that's
Right.
what I'm referring to it as from here on out. It's no longer the P4. I'm not calling it that. It's the P2. So if y'all can't figure out who those two conferences are, just shoot me an email or message something. I'll tell you. All right, let's head down to or over to Columbia, South Carolina, as the number 8 South Carolina Gamecocks hosted their regional game. One, John, saw some excitement as we saw North Florida get their first ever win in the tournament, 2-1 over Virginia, followed by South Carolina knocking off Elon 5-2. Virginia would then blank Elon today after North Florida would lose to South Carolina 3-0. That would set up Virginia, North Florida tonight for a chance at South Carolina. And John, in walk-off fashion, North Florida with a big win tonight to take on South Carolina. Got to win twice. That's an exciting, exciting regional, and one that if you roll the tape back to Monday, John and I talked about it. We both said keep an eye on North Florida. Here they are, folks. I mean, like I said, you ain't got to be the loudest mouth in the room to make sense. But, when you use fact, team to look out for, like we said Monday. But, John, they got a tough one tomorrow.
Yeah, a lot of people did not predict North Florida to go far, but credit North Florida, man. They're battling, they're pitching well, and they're also hitting the ball pretty well too.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Now, do you think that they knock off South Carolina tomorrow?
It'll be tough, but maybe they keep it close for the first few innings. But it'll be tough. But they might win the first game, but I think they can lose the second game just because Clemson, or not Clemson, but South Carolina's got a little bit more power at the bat.
True. True. All right, man. Let's head over out to LA. I know I'm not talking about Lower Arkansas. I'm talking about Los Angeles, where we would see UCLA start the day yesterday with a 9-1 win over Santa Barbara, followed by San Diego State knocking off Arizona State. A little bit of a surprise there, but they won 3-2 over the Sun Devils. That would set up today's game 3, which was between UCLA and San Diego State. UCLA would blank the Aztecs 9-0, setting up Arizona State and UC Santa Barbara, which is currently happening right now, bottom of the ninth, tied up 3-3. John, do we have any updates on that game?
I still got 3-3 on my end too. Same inning, by the way.
This has been a fun regional, as really a lot of them have. There really hasn't been a whole lot of just, oh wow, well man, that's a fun one. I mean, really, it's been all of them have had their exciting moments. What's your thoughts on this one, John? Right now, we've got a live ball game: UC Santa Barbara and Arizona State. Do you think UC Santa Barbara could move on to take on San Diego tomorrow?
Arizona State's got the pitching still left, so it'll definitely be interesting because they just took, 8 innings of work by Kenzie Brown, and then Mika Loop for Arizona State came in and gave up 4 hits and then 3 runs. So it'll be interesting how they compete in later innings in this one.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, it will. Speaking of interesting, John, let's head down to Baton Rouge. Wow, what a regional down there. We'll start with game one. Game one was it's a regional between number 10 LSU, Nebraska, UConn, Southeastern Louisiana. Game one yesterday, we saw Nebraska knock off UConn 10-2 before the highlight of the night, which was an incredible game, 4-3 between LSU and Southeastern Louisiana. Southeastern Louisiana was the winner, 4-3.
You called it.
Just saying. Game three today, we saw Nebraska knock off Southeastern Louisiana 14-1, setting up a LSU. I'm sorry, setting up LSU and UConn for game four, which was today. LSU would blank UConn 3-0, setting up a game that took place tonight, a matchup of game two, which was LSU Southeastern Louisiana. Wow. Southeastern Louisiana would knock out LSU of their own regional 8-7 to move on to take on the Nebraska Lady Huskers. What a game. Aggressive style in every aspect of the game. From base running to fielding, they sprint on the field, they sprint off the field. They're aggressive at the plate. They force you to make the play. It's a very similar style to Trina Prater, how she coaches the game, how she approaches the game. Florida Atlantic plays with a very similar style. South Florida plays with a very similar style. It's a style that, in time, if you can remain the same and can keep your wits about you and how you play, it can cause teams like an LSU fits, any team, because they get rushed. Their speed at the first, at the 1, 2, and 3 of the lineup. But I love how the coach is like, look, what I do is I go find speed, I go find power, I go find pitching. Oh, and you know what I do? The first thing I look at is, do they have a Louisiana next to their name? Because if they do, I want to get them in here. I love it. It's homegrown. I understand not every program can be homegrown, right? I get that. But the way Southeastern Louisiana softball has done it has been really, really fun to watch, John. And we've been talking about them for the last 2-3 years now in women's softball.
It just shows how competitive they are, either in a portal or just by the recruiting, because they can hit, they can pitch. The list goes on and on. They're not only a baseball school, but they're also a softball school.
What's your thoughts on this regional?
Not a total shock, to be honest with you. Like you predicted LSU to be eliminated or to win the region but come out of the loser bracket.
Yeah,
But it's not really a total shock to me because of the history of Southeast Louisiana in general. Um, 30 plus wins one year,
hmm
40 plus the next. They can hit this whole region across the
Nebraska's
board.
scoring runs,
Yeah,
but they put runs on the board. That's just all there is to it. They're scoring.
I like Nebraska's pitching though. Don't get me wrong,
Me too.
but it's gonna be a challenge tomorrow in the first game.
Yeah,
But if anybody can beat Nebraska, I think Southeast Louisiana can. But Nebraska is just so filthy on that mound.
they
They
are.
can they can throw breaking pitches and fool you. They can throw
They've got
screwballs at
depth too.
you. They can do everything in their power to strike you out.
Yeah, and like I said, the depth that they add to that just makes them a powerhouse on the mound. All right, man. Let's head over to Clemson as the Tigers hosted a regional, the number 11 seed Tigers. Game one yesterday was between Northwestern and Kentucky, as the Wildcats of North, the Purple Wildcats, the Northwestern Wildcats would blank the SEC Kentucky Wildcats 4-0 in game one, followed by Clemson knocking off USC Upstate by a score of 10-2. Game three today that would send UCS, sorry, dadgummit, USC
South Carolina
Upstate.
State.
Yeah. That would send them to the losers bracket facing Kentucky. But before that, we would find out that Clemson would knock off Northwestern 1-0. All right, back to the original elimination game. Kentucky won. Damn. Kentucky won 11-0. They knocked off USC Upstate to send them home before knocking off Northwestern 8-3 to advance to take on Clemson. John, I made a bold prediction in this one. Kentucky's got to win twice for my bold prediction to check out, but I, they're just a feisty softball bunch, man. There's something about this Kentucky team. Baseball last year, very similar,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just feisty, just kind of grinding it out. Um, I honestly think that I stand by my pick. Give me the Wildcats, man. Shock the world. Knock off Clemson twice tomorrow to move on.
Makes you wonder how much pitching left Kentucky has too.
Oh yeah.
Kentucky, yeah, Clemson can just throw their number three at them if they wanted to tomorrow in the first game. But if you're Clemson, I think you made a good point. Kentucky won like what 29-27, like we talked about
Mm.
this season. Did Kentucky deserve to be in? Yes and no, but Clemson better be ready. I know Kentucky can maybe surprise the people in the first few innings.
Oh, no doubt, man. No doubt. All right, let's head over to Lubbock, Texas, where the number 12 ranked Texas Tech Lady Red Raiders, would host Brown, Washington State, and Mississippi State for their regional. Game one of the day featured the Texas Tech as they hosted Brown. They would blank Brown 6-0 before Mississippi State would knock off Washington 6-3 in the second game of the day, setting up an elimination game between Brown and Washington State. But before that, we would have to see Texas Tech and Mississippi State take on each other first. In that game, Texas Tech would win 10-1, which would send Mississippi State down to tonight's elimination game, playing the winner of Washington and Brown. That would be Washington. Washington knocked off Brown today in game four, 13-5, setting up a Washington Mississippi State matchup, which was a really good matchup the first time around. And John, tonight the Bulldogs prevailed 11-10 in a big time win.
Yeah, big slugfest in that one. home runs left and right, and a good win for the quality program because Washington's history alone could surprise some people going forward too because of that. Because Washington's been to Omaha or not Omaha, they've been to Oklahoma City before in their history. So congratulations to Mississippi State prevailing. And then it makes it interesting tomorrow because Mississippi State does got to win twice in that region to advance. So congrats to the Lady Bulldogs in that one.
Yeah, it's a big time win, man. And like you said, they got to win twice tomorrow. Uh, can their pitching stand out? Stand up to the task. That's really the question. I mean, like you just talked about, all these teams that have to win twice tomorrow. In reality, they could throw their number three or a bullpen for that matter, um, and then you could turn around and throw your number two in game two, and then if you had to bring in the number one, you bring them in to close them out. But interesting. It's going to be very interesting to watch the strategies around the country from these coaches in games where they have a little bit of a cushion. I'm very, very interested to see how this works out. I think it's going to be very, very exciting, honestly. All right, man, let's head over to the Tucson Regional as Arizona, number 13 ranked Wildcats, would host Santa Clara, Ole Miss, and Grand Canyon for their regional. Arizona would knock off Santa Clara 13-5 in the opening day, followed by Ole Miss winning 7-4 in game two. When you look at this regional, I thought it was a good one. I still think it's a good one. There's games going on right now, as we've got live softball going on out there in Tucson. But 7-4, big win for Ole Miss yesterday in the game. But that would set up Santa Clara and Grand Canyon in the first elimination game. But we would see Ole Miss knock off Arizona first game today, 10-8, to knock Arizona down in the losers bracket, which not a lot of people really saw happening. Then Grand Canyon would win, setting up the game which is taking place right now, which we're getting ready to head to the bottom of the second. But it's Arizona 0, Grand Canyon 0. Winner faces Ole Miss. We saw the third baseman of Ole Miss make a hell of a play yesterday. Catch as she's falling, her knee tagged the bag for an incredible double play. But Ole Miss, very impressive so far out in Tucson, John.
I called Ole Miss a dark horse this regional because they've seen Arizona before. Some of these players have seen Arizona twice in 4 years. So, not a total shock because Ole Miss has seen Arizona before. But what's impressing me for Ole Miss, they're scoring a lot of runs.
Yeah.
And they're handling the Arizona Heat pretty good too.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Let's head out to Durham, North Carolina. The Duke Blue Devils would blank Howard 12-0, followed by Coastal and Georgia, as Georgia would win 6-3, setting up Howard, Coastal Carolina for the elimination game, the first elimination game today. Georgia, in a little bit of a surprise, would knock off Duke for 8-2 today, sending Duke down to the losers bracket, awaiting the winner of Coastal Carolina and Howard. Coastal would end up winning that game 9-1, as they would take on Duke for a chance to take to be tasked to knock off Georgia twice. So I mean, not easy to do at all. We would see Duke prevail tonight, 16-8, put up a lot of runs tonight on the board. John, Duke, Georgia has an advantage, right? Has a 2-0 up slate. Duke's already lost the game, but Duke scored a lot of runs tonight, 16 runs. Can they duplicate that again, considering the last time they took on Georgia, they only scored 2 runs?
Yeah, if I was Duke, I would try to save at least a few more runs for tomorrow. But interesting region because just the way that Georgia softball finished the year up, down, up, down. Um, but that's another thing. Georgia Duke faced off a couple of years ago, so same thing. Georgia's seen Duke before, so if I'm Georgia, just try to jump on them early and take advantage and quiet the crowd in Durham.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, man. Let's head over to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Number 15th ranked Alabama Crimson Tide would host Jackson State, Belmont, and Virginia Tech in their regional. They blanked Jackson State 8-0 to in the second game of the day. We saw two shutouts in yesterday's games, John. Virginia Tech won 5-0 over the Belmont, and then Bama won 8-0, setting up Jackson State and Belmont for the second game of today. In game one today, we saw the host Alabama win 4-3 over Virginia Tech, setting up the winner of Belmont Jackson State. Belmont came out ahead 2-1. But I'll tell you this, John. Yes, Jackson State was outclassed in this regional, right? Not that any winner from that conference is going to get a favorable draw. I mean, let's just be honest. But I like this team's fight. It's a team that we watched earlier take on Memphis. Memphis ended up getting the win against them. But this team's got fight. They don't quit. They seem to travel well. Both the game here in Memphis and the game, this entire regional down in Alabama. Their fans have been there. Their fans have been loud. And there's been moments to cheer, right? It's not like they just completely got annihilated. So kudos to Jackson State. Just want to say that before we get over to Virginia Tech would win over Belmont 11-1, setting up Bama and Virginia Tech. I expect Bama to come out of this regional, but I do think it goes to a second game for it all to come down. What about you?
Yeah, but the thing is, I think Virginia Tech should have took advantage of beating Alabama this first time because going down to Tuscaloosa is going to be tough to beat Alabama twice, especially in that hostile environment that they got down there.
Yeah, I mean, you got to throw everything you got in the first one in order to get to the second one. All right, man, let's head to the last one. Let's head over to Eugene, Oregon, as we saw the Lady Ducks host Weber State, Stanford, and Binghamton. So we'd see in game one, Stanford knock off Binghamton 9-2, followed by Oregon blanking Weber State 8-0, which would set up Weber and Binghamton in the second game of today. Game one of today, we saw Stanford, the Cardinal, score a lot of runs, 14-1 over Oregon. They put it on Oregon today in game one, followed by Weber State, which would set up hosting Oregon with a opportunity to get a big win. And right now they're up 3-1 in the bottom of the second on Weber State, however you want to say it. But the winner hosts Stanford, and the winner has to knock off Stanford twice, John. It's another regional that we talk about all the regionals, but it's another regional that we projected, however you want to term it. I projected anyway, an upset. Do you think it could potentially come to fruition?
Former Pac-12 conference foes facing off, and a loser possibly goes home in the first game. Winner stays alive. Oregon needs to make a statement tomorrow. I think also because I think they're mad still. They got the overall 16 seed when they should have been a lot higher. So Oregon is definitely gonna. I mean, the Big Ten tournament. We've seen it. They lost in the Big Ten tournament. Do they have a little bit of hangover effect because they lost in the Big Ten tournament? So it's interesting in that region so far.
It's very interesting, man. What's even more interesting is all the teams that are hosts that are having to come out of a loser's bracket in their own regional, and it starts at the very top. Texas A&M. Uh, we already talked about the regional, but you look at them. I mean, Texas A&M had to come out of their own losers bracket. You saw, I mean, UCLA won. LSU, for example, they got knocked out of their regional. Clemson was, moved on unscathed. Texas Tech moved on unscathed. Arizona, I mean, they're battling right now for a chance to stay alive in their own regional. Duke, another one. Eugene, same way. Oregon's battling right now to stay alive in their own regional. I mean, there's a possibility here we could see Duke. We could see Arizona, Oregon, and LSU, all three knocked out of their own regional. Potentially more tomorrow, pending, how the games play out. But really, what really has surprised me is typically in these, you see the top seeds, or you see a lot of these ranked teams, seeded teams, whatever, just kind of almost kind of cakewalk. Now, second round, things crank up. Obviously, when you get to when you get over here to Oklahoma City, things really crank up. I enjoy this tournament more when you see these types of things happen, and it's kind of starting to happen a little bit more, especially this year. You're seeing it at a much higher rate. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, do you think it's? I mean, I think it's great for the game of softball. Number one, I think it's great for the sport because I think it garners more eyes, it garners more attention. I mean, it's 10:30, and I'm sitting here talking about it, so it has to have my attention in some way. But this makes this road to Oklahoma to OKC as the hashtag, but it makes the road a lot more exciting, and it also kind of sheds some light on how conferences really should be viewed. But we'll get to that as we close. Go ahead.
I call this the Memphis, or not Memphis, but March Madness of softball because there was May Madness because anybody can beat anybody on a given day in softball. These regionals are definitely fun to watch. As you see, like you brought up, and I brought up already this today, was LSU softball. Second time in 3 years when they host, they can't get past the first round. Losing Southeast Louisiana this today, then they lost to the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana 2 years ago in the 2023 softball season in their own backyard as well. Maybe they just need to quit playing Louisiana teams in their own
Well,
backyard, I guess.
but that's where the gripe with the NCAA would come in because they have
Oh,
a
I know.
400-mile or whatever the radius is. But I mean, I don't know because you look at some of these games, like for example, Mississippi State. I don't think that Mississippi State is 400 miles. I haven't looked it up on MapQuest, but or whatever Google Maps, whatever y'all want to call.
Way further.
Yeah, whatever. Right, 400 miles. I think Lubbock's way out there, bro, and there ain't a whole lot in Lubbock, Texas, except for the University of Texas Tech. It's beautiful out there, but there's not a lot out there. For example, I don't, LSU cannot be too excited when they see another Louisiana team in the state make the tournament. I mean, there's got to be some edge. They got to be a little bit on edge as the tournament begins. And I mean, if you look at Arkansas now I think obviously Arkansas will host a super, but recently there's been some scares here in Fayetteville as well.
That's why you play these midweek games
Yep.
against higher competition as well. And that's one reason they get into these big tournaments early on in the season like the University of Memphis did. I know Memphis had a not so great season, but that's why you see the Kentuckys, the Jackson States, the Belmonts, the list goes on and on. That's why, me personally, I want to see more in-state games midweeks to get these ladies ready for the not only for the regional, but also the super regional.
Agree 100%. And I think that's where, like, not to just talk about Memphis, but a team like Memphis specifically, right? A team that's trying to rebuild culture. And I think that was accomplished this year by Trina Prater and the staff. But when you look at Memphis, get some team like they played Mississippi State this year, right? They played different programs like that. But, you know, schedule some Belmonts in there. Schedule
Lipscomb,
some, schedule some Lipscombs, schedule some, um, you
Austin
know,
P.
exactly Austin P. Throw Vanderbilt in there, right? SEC team. No matter
We don't have a
doesn't
softball
matter.
team.
Well, but okay, but I mean, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
like, you know
okay,
what I
yeah.
mean? Find some teams in these Power Two conferences that maybe aren't the top tier level of that conference, but it's still notched as a win against an SEC or a win against a Big Ten or ACC or whatever the other conference may be. I think that's where you talked about midweek series. That's where you can get some things set up. And if you're Memphis, try to get a 2-for-1, hopefully a home and home, right? That's really what you want. That's really what you really want to get set up, and you want to get it set up for maybe 4, 5, 6 years.
Or even play in the middle of the state
They're
somewhere.
enthralled in what is to come. Oh, hey, we played Clemson last year on the road. Hey, the Tigers are coming here this year. We played at LSU. Hey, LSU's coming here in 2 years. That's just, and I mean, I think LSU would be another for Memphis. I mean, Prater played for LSU. There's obviously a connection. Take full advantage of those. Um, get Campbell on the schedule. You know what I mean? Like find different ways to find some attractive programs to get out of your schedule, and then but at the same time, you look at Arkansas. You look at how Arkansas is scheduled this year. Go look at their non-conference schedule. Keep in mind they're playing in the SEC, but go look at their non-conference. It's impressive. It really is. But for teams around the country, I think softball is done a little bit different than college football as far as a lot of the scheduling is not done years in advance. But possibly it is. But regardless, I would like to see teams become more aggressive in their non-conference scheduling. Now, I understand also if you're Memphis, I get it. You want to play Arkansas State. Great regional matchup. Go play Jackson State. That's a NCAA tournament team. Find ways to find avenues to get people into your stands. You're already not charging anything. Why not fill the stadium up? Find a reason to charge for a game. You know, but no, man. So far, this regional portion of the tournament has been very exciting. John, as we close, I just talked about it. You look at the tournament, you see possibly we now have a possibility of 3 teams going home that are hosting. Could we see a surprise team in Oklahoma City, or it's a 2-part question? Will we see a surprise team? Number 2, how many SEC teams are in Oklahoma City?
Um, I called Ohio State a team to look out for, and I still believe in that. They led the NCAA this year in home runs. I know they're going to beat Tennessee twice tomorrow, starting at 11 a.m. Central Time. But if anybody can beat Tennessee twice, Ohio State definitely can. As a surprise, I think Ohio State can. Hey, man, don't be surprised. Don't count out UCF. I know they still got to play Texas,
Go Knights.
but the way that this UCF is just a phenomenal story in general. Last year they weren't good that much at all in softball.
Right.
This year they make it back to the regional in the Big 12. Um, Gosh, man, like how many teams out of SEC could we see in Oklahoma City? On top of my head right now, I would say maybe like 3 or 4. Alabama, possibly. But the thing is, though, when you're traveling cross country in these super regionals, it's going to affect on your body at some point as
Oh,
well.
yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
So Alabama could very well make it back to Oklahoma City. And then, of course, to Florida, man. Florida is still good with Coach Walsh at the helm. So I say right now 3 or 4 go to OKC out of the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma, right? I think Texas A&M still gets there. Arkansas. I think Arkansas is going to be tough.
So Arkansas's got what seed again right now? Forgive me.
There are 4.
And they would play the 13, which is, dang, very well could see Ole Miss go to Fayetteville next week.
Yeah, and that would be a very fun series. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is if Oakland, Ole Miss comes out of their region, which is they're in Tucson, right? Ole Miss comes out of Tucson, that's a monkey wrench. That changes things. It's going to be a very exciting tournament. I think Oklahoma is going to come away with it in the end. Now, I understand there's a lot of people out there that don't want to see that. They want to see something different happen. I understand that thought process. I get that. I just think Oklahoma's the best team in the country. I think they're built for this. They're built to continually win. And there's not a reload or a rebuild. It's a reload, seemingly year in, year out, for Patty Gasso, who's arguably greatest softball coach to do it.
Goat.
Arguably, right? I mean, people can give other names. I get that. But I'm telling you, man, there's something about Gasso. There's something about Patty, and then there's something about DJ coming up here to Fayetteville. I think they showed it this year, John. You look at that game in the SEC tournament. You look at how just that was a NCAA type environment. I think we see it again. I think we see it again pretty soon. No, man. I think there's at least 4 SEC teams, which would be what, half? There's 8 that go. So interesting stuff. All right, man. Go ahead.
I still want to see a SEC versus SEC in the second round. That's just my point of view. I mean, it's more fun that way, yes.
Yeah.
But I want to see like a SEC versus Big Ten possible matchup, or SEC versus a Big 12 matchup in the second round. I think it's just more fun. Me personally, I've always liked the SEC versus SEC in the championship game per se.
Yeah.
So why not just have it fun in the championship game instead of second round?
That's true. All right, man. Well, we appreciate everyone watching and listening. And as always, we will be back. We'll be back tomorrow to wrap up our discussion on the Women's College World Series, as we'll have a little more finalization of the regionals, who will take on who's where, who's what, and when they play. But for all of us here at 4 Star Sports Media, like we say, folks, get up, be kind, and stay classy.